The night is quiet around you now. Perhaps you are lying in your bed, the air cool against your skin. Or perhaps you are moving slowly through the small tasks of evening. Whatever your place, you feel the stillness gather. The day has ended, and the world grows soft around its edges. You listen to your own breath. Steady and slow, you hear the silence in the room, or the faint hum of distant life outside. You are here, resting, letting the weight of hours fall away. Tonight, we walk into a city made of dreams and dust, a place where walls touched the sky, where gardens might have hung like paradise itself, where markets overflowed with riches, and where gods were said to dwell in towers that pierced the heavens. A city so wondrous that poets sang of it, prophets warned of it, conquerors envied it. Babylon. But even wonders fall, and tonight we drift into that story, how glory rose, how power spread, and how it all dissolved into silence. You don't need to stay awake for every stone, every name. The story will continue, whether your eyes close or not. History is patient, it will wait while you rest. What is a city, you might wonder? Is it only walls and towers, or is it the dreams of people, fragile as breath, rising and vanishing like smoke? If you drift into sleep, you might dream of Babylon's towers. Just keep your sandals near the bed. You never know when a lion might wander in. If quiet history like this helps you rest or wander, consider subscribing. It lets this small corner of calm keep growing. And if you're still awake, share your time and place below. I'd love to know who's listening tonight. Now take a slow breath and follow the river to the beginning. The river is wide before you, the Euphrates, flowing dark and steady beneath the sun of Mesopotamia. Its waters glitter, carrying silt, carrying life. Along its banks, reeds bend and whisper. Birds lift into the sky, their cries sharp against the warm air. This river has flowed for countless years, carving its path through desert and plain, giving life where there would otherwise be only dust. And it is here, beside its waters, that people first gather. You walk among them, men and women building homes of mud brick, stacking walls that dry hard in the sun. Their houses are simple, square, clustered close together. Narrow streets run between them, dusty and uneven. The air smells of clay and smoke, of bread baking in small ovens, of fish drying in the heat. Children run barefoot, their laughter quick and sharp. Dogs bark, donkeys bray. The village hums with life. The river feeds them. Men cast nets into its waters, pulling out silver fish, their scales glinting. Women carry jars to the river's edge, filling them carefully, balancing them on their shoulders. Farmers cut irrigation canals, guiding the water into fields where barley and wheat rise green and tall. Date palms line the banks, their fruit sweet and sticky in the hand. Everything depends on the Euphrates. Without it, nothing would remain. As seasons pass, the village grows. More houses rise, more fields spread outward. Traders arrive by boat, their hulls low in the water, filled with goods, timber from far forests, stone from distant quarries, copper and tin to be forged into tools. They unload their cargo, barter with the villagers, load their boats with grain, with dates, with reeds for weaving. The river is not only lifeline, it is highway, carrying wealth from one land to another. You stand in the marketplace, the air alive with sound. Merchants call out their wares, donkeys jostle, children tug at their mothers' robes. Spices from the east, gleaming beads from the Gulf, wool from high plateaus, all pass through hands here. The village is no longer only a cluster of homes, it is becoming a city, and above it all rises the first wall. At first only low mud brick, a circle to keep out wild animals, to mark the city's edge. But as years pass, the wall grows higher, thicker. Towers sprout along its length. Gates are built, heavy and strong, opening to roads that stretch outward like veins. The wall is more than protection. It is identity. Inside is Babylon. Outside is everything else. The people tell stories as they work. They speak of gods who shaped the world from chaos, who stretched sky above and water below. They speak of Marduk, the Great One, who split the sea dragon Tiamat in two, making heaven and earth from her body. They believe he dwells among them now, his temple rising slowly, a ziggurat built of mud brick, tier upon tier climbing toward heaven. Each layer is laid with care, each step carrying them closer to the gods. You climb it in imagination, the air warm against your skin, the steps steep. From its summit you see the river curve, fields stretching green, desert gold beyond. The city lies below, its walls shining in the sun, its streets alive with movement. Smoke rises from ovens, voices drift upward, boats glide on the river. It is only the beginning, but already Babylon is wonder. At night, the city glows with small fires. Families gather round lamps, their flames flickering against mud brick walls. A mother tells her children stories of Gilgamesh, the great king who sought immortality. A father sings softly, his voice low and steady. Outside, the stars shimmer, countless, endless. The Euphrates reflects them, its surface rippling like polished stone. The people sleep, their city safe behind its walls, their gods watching from above. You lie among them and dream. You feel the cool night air, the warmth of fire fading, the steady pulse of the river. Babylon is young, but it breathes already like something eternal. And so it begins, a village by the river, a wall of mud brick, a ziggurat rising, step by step, a name spoken, carried by traders, remembered by neighbors, Babylon. The morning sun climbs, and its light catches the edges of Babylon's walls. What began as a low ring of mud brick now grows into something more vast, more enduring. You stand before them, and they stretch outward, wrapping the city like an embrace of earth and fire. At first glance they seem ordinary blocks of clay hardened by the sun, stacked in simple lines. But step closer, and you see their thickness, their height. You realize they are not only defenses, they are symbols. A wall is more than stone, it is a promise. Inside is safety, order, identity. Outside is wilderness, uncertainty, threat. And so the Babylonians build theirs, higher, stronger. Each season new bricks are fired, their surfaces stamped with the king's seal, pressed with words that declare ownership, protection, eternity. Kilns glow day and night, smoke rising in plumes that mark the city's ambition. You walk along the base, and the wall dwarfs you. It is broad enough that carts could ride across its top. Towers rise at intervals, their shadows long, their windows narrow slits. Soldiers stand watch, their spears gleaming, their eyes scanning the horizon. Their presence is calm, not urgent, for no enemy presses now. Yet still they watch, and their watch itself is a kind of order. Step through a gate, massive and heavy, its beams of cedar bound with bronze. The doors swing inward with a groan, and you pass from desert plain into city heart. The gate is not only threshold, but theatre, adorned with carvings of lions, bulls, dragons, their forms curling and fierce guardians of the passage. As you enter, you feel both welcome and warning. Inside lies Babylon, outside lies all else. The streets beyond are narrow, twisting, lined with mud brick houses pressed close together. But always, in glimpses between walls, you see the greater wall looming, circling all. It is horizon and boundary, the line that defines your world. At night, fires glow along its ramparts. The watchmen pace, their footsteps echoing against brick, their torches flare, orange against the stars. Inside the city sleeps, untroubled, believing the walls unbreakable. In time, the walls become legend. Travelers arrive from distant lands, staring upward in awe. They speak of their breadth, of their height, of their endless stretch. They say they could not be breached by battering ram or fire. They say even the gods themselves would pause before them. Herodotus, centuries later, will write of them, describing walls so vast that chariots could race upon them, towers so tall they touched the sky. Whether myth or memory, the impression is the same. Babylon is fortress. Babylon is wonder. You climb the stair to the top, and the city spreads beneath you. Roofs of mud brick shimmer pale in the sun, courtyards dotted with palms, markets alive with color and sound. Beyond, the Euphrates winds like a silver snake, its surface glinting. Boats drift, their sails full, their decks laden, fields stretch green along its banks, desert gold beyond. From this height, the world feels both vast and contained, endless horizon and perfect enclosure. Soldiers walk beside you on the rampart. They nod in greeting, their voices low. They speak of quiet days and watchful nights, of festivals, when the walls themselves are draped with garlands, of parades, when kings march through the gates, banners waving, drums pounding. To guard the walls is not only duty but honor, for the walls are Babylon, and Babylon is glory. Step down again into the workshops near the gate. Here, men shape bricks of clay, pressing reeds into them, stamping the king's mark before setting them to bake. The air smells of smoke, of earth, of sweat. The workers sing softly, their chants keeping rhythm, as they lift and stack. They know that each brick carries weight beyond its size. Each one is part of a whole, part of the barrier that defines their lives. Women pass carrying baskets, their children trailing. Traders push carts, loaded with goods, spices, wool, wood. Priests walk with measured steps, their linen robes bright against the dust. The city lives and breathes within its walls, and the walls stand because of them. They are not merely barriers but vessels of the people's labor, symbols of the people's will. At dusk, the gates close. The heavy doors swing shut, the bronze bindings clanging. Guards settle into their posts, torches flare. The noise of the marketplace fades, replaced by the softer sounds of families within their courtyards, children laughing, flutes playing, voices rising in prayer. Outside the walls, darkness spreads across the plain, silent and vast. Inside, there is warmth, light, safety. And yet, safety is never perfect. You hear the whispers in the streets of raiders on the edges, of rival kings gathering armies, of distant empires watching with envy. The walls are strong, but fear seeps through cracks like water through stone. That is why they are built ever higher, ever stronger, so that fear may be kept at bay. At night, you lie on the roof of a house, the air cool against your skin. The walls loom in the distance, black against the stars. The watchman's torches glow faintly, moving like fireflies. You breathe slowly, hearing the faint hum of the river, the soft murmur of the city in sleep. You realize the walls are not only defense, they are dream, belief, hope. They hold not only the people's bodies, but their faith that Babylon will endure. Generations will pass. Kings will come and go. The walls will be built again and again, higher, thicker, stronger. They will become the most famous walls of all, spoken of across continents, remembered long after the city itself has fallen. But for now, in this moment, they stand as promise. The promise that Babylon will not be touched, that wonder will last, that eternity can be shaped in brick. And you, drifting into stillness, feel their weight, not only against the horizon, but within your chest. The gates open at dawn, and with them the city awakens. First, it is the creak of wooden carts, the bray of donkeys, the shuffle of feet. Then comes the hum of voices, the rising calls of merchants, the laughter of children, the bark of dogs. You walk through the narrow streets, and already the air is heavy with smell and sound. Babylon's markets are alive, overflowing, humming like a hive. You step into the bazaar, and color strikes you first. Stalls draped in woven cloth, bright reds, deep blues, golden yellows, piles of grain stacked high, baskets of dates shining with syrup, jars of honey glinting in the sun. Spices lie in neat mounds, cinnamon, saffron, cumin, releasing clouds of scent so rich they sting your nose. Oils glimmer in clay jars, perfumes drift on the breeze. The world's wealth gathers here, compressed into streets that pulse with life. A caravan has just arrived from the east. Its camels kneel, their backs bent beneath loads of lapis lazuli, turquoise, and fine wool. Traders shout as they unload, their voices urgent but joyful. A man holds up a lump of shining tin, offering it to a smith who eyes it with hunger. Tin to mix with copper, to make bronze, to forge tools and weapons. Beside them, another merchant spreads a cloth filled with beads of carnelian and ivory, treasures from lands far beyond the desert. From the north comes cedar wood, long beams floated down rivers, fragrant and strong. Builders lean over them, testing their grain, dreaming of roofs and doors that will outlast generations. From the south, ships bring gold from Nubia, heavy and bright, carried in baskets, their glow catching every eye. And always, from the fields nearby, there is grain, the true wealth of the land, sacks of barley, of wheat, enough to feed armies, enough to trade for wonders. You wander through the stalls, each one a small world. A potter displays his wares, jars smooth and polished, painted with lines of black and red. A weaver spreads out linen, its threads fine, its surface soft. A jeweler strings beads into necklaces, his fingers quick, his eyes sharp. His stall glitters with gold and silver, with rings carved in the shapes of lions and bulls. Women gather, pointing, laughing, bartering. Children reach for shiny baubles, their mothers pulling them back with gentle scolds. The sounds rise higher as the day grows. Musicians sit at corners, plucking lyres, blowing flutes, tapping drums. Their melodies drift above the market noise, giving rhythm to the trade. Storytellers gather small crowds, their voices weaving tales of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, of gods and monsters, of victories in battle. Their words hang in the air, free for all who pause to listen. And yet, it is not only goods that pass here, it is ideas. Scribes sit at tables, their reed pens scratching on clay tablets, writing contracts, recording debts, sealing agreements with cylinder seals pressed into wet clay. Traders speak in many tongues, Akkadian, Elamite, Aramaic, gesturing, bargaining, laughing. Interpreters weave between them, carrying words like goods, exchanging not just prices but customs, stories, fragments of foreign lands. Babylon is crossroads as much as market. Here, the world converges. You pause at a stall selling dates. The fruit glistens in the sun, sticky and sweet. A boy offers you one, his smile quick. You taste it, and the sugar floods your tongue, rich and heavy. Around you, others eat bread hot from ovens, roasted fish fresh from the river, figs soft and fragrant. The market is not only trade, it is feast. In a quieter corner, priests from Marduk's temple watch over offerings. Merchants bring first fruits, pouring grain into temple jars, laying bread upon stone altars, sprinkling incense. They bow their heads, asking blessing for their trade. For commerce in Babylon is never only business. It is also sacred. The god's favor flows like silver, like grain. Without it, wealth might vanish like water spilled on sand. As the sun climbs, the heat deepens. Merchants shout louder, urging sales. Donkeys bray, their backs piled high with sacks. Goats bleat as boys tug them along, their hooves clattering on stone. Dogs scavenge scraps, tails wagging. The air grows thick with dust, with sweat, with spice. You feel it cling to your skin, the pulse of the market pressing close. And yet, amid the chaos, there is rhythm. Buyers haggle, sellers respond. Coins and goods change hands. A man trades a sack of grain for a bolt of cloth. Another gives a jar of oil for a necklace of beads. A woman offers bread in exchange for fish. Each trade is a thread, weaving people together, binding them in need and trust. The market is not only wealth, it is community. As evening falls, the bazaar slows. Merchants pack their wares, covering them with cloth, tying them with rope. Donkeys are led away, their loads lighter now. Fires are lit, casting warm glow. Families linger, eating meals of bread and stew, drinking beer from clay mugs. Musicians play softer now, their songs slower, gentler. The market exhales, its breath long and tired. You walk back toward the gate, and you look once more at the stalls. The colors fade in twilight, the scents drift away, the noise softens, but you know it will return with the dawn. Tomorrow the market will rise again, humming with trade, glowing with color, filling Babylon with wealth and wonder. The city's glory is not only in its walls or temples, but here, in its markets, here where the world meets, here where goods and stories pass hand to hand, here where Babylon breathes, alive with the wealth of distant lands. You lie down in the quiet now, The night air cool, the stars spread wide above. You can almost hear it still. The cries of merchants, the laughter of children, the music of flutes. It drifts into silence, into dream, into memory. And Babylon rests, its markets closed, its treasures safe behind walls that gleam in starlight. The sun leans high in the sky when you hear whispers of a marvel, unlike any other. It is said to rise above Babylon's rooftops, a palace with terraces that bloom like mountains, gardens suspended in air, waterfalls shimmering in the sun, the hanging garden. Even if you are not certain whether they are myth or memory, the people speak of them with pride, as if they had always been there. You feel the tug of their wonder, and so you go to see. You approach the palace grounds, and the air shifts. The narrow streets give way to broad courtyards, paved with stone, guarded by statues of lions and bulls. Soldiers stand watch, their spears gleaming, their eyes steady. Beyond them rises a structure, unlike any other in the city. It does not taper upward like a ziggurat, nor stretch flat like a market. It climbs in tiers one upon another, each layer filled with green. Terraces step toward the sky, their edges hung with vines that spill downward like curtains. Palms rise tall, their fronds swaying. Pomegranates glow red among dark leaves, figs heavy on branches, grapes coiling on trellises. Flowers bloom in colors that dazzle, reds, blues, yellows, whites. Water trickles down channels cut into stone, glistening as it falls, spilling into pools that gleam in sunlight. The air smells not of dust and clay, but of damp earth, blossoms, fruit. It feels like a fragment of another world. You step closer, and the sound of water deepens. Engineers have built clever machines, hidden screws, chains, pulleys that lift water from the Euphrates to the highest terraces. Men walk in rhythm, turning wooden cranks, filling basins that spill into channels, carrying streams upward. The effort is constant, but so is the flow. Without it, the gardens would wither. With it, they thrive. You climb the steps, your feet echoing on stone. At each level, the view widens. Below, the city spreads, a maze of mud brick homes, markets, temples, walls. Beyond, the river glitters, its surface broken by boats gliding smooth. Beyond the river, the desert stretches, wide and endless. Yet, here, among the terraces, you feel far from desert. You feel as if you have stepped into a mountain of life, a fragment of paradise. At the top, you find the palace itself. Its walls are carved and painted, its doors of cedar bound with bronze. Reliefs line the halls. Lions hunted by kings, gods bestowing favor, battles fought and won. The air is cool, shaded by stone, perfumed by flowers carried inside. Servants move silently, their feet soft on smooth floors. Musicians play harps and flutes, their melodies drifting like water through the chambers. It is said this wonder was built by Nebuchadnezzar II, the great king who made Babylon gleam with power. Some whisper he built it for his queen, who missed the green mountains of her homeland. To ease her sorrow, he raised a mountain in the desert, filled it with trees and waterfalls, gave her the scent of home. Whether true or not, the story lingers, as much a part of the gardens as stone and water. You walk beside the queen herself, her steps slow, her gaze lifted to the blossoms. She touches a branch of almond, breathes in the perfume of roses, smiles faintly. Around her walk attendants, carrying fans, bowls of fruit, jars of wine. She pauses at a terrace edge, looking out across the city, her face calm. Perhaps she thinks of mountains far away, of valleys green and cool. Perhaps she thinks of love that built her this wonder. At night, the gardens transform. Torches line the terraces, their flames dancing, their light glimmering on leaves wet with dew. Pools reflect the fire, casting shimmering ripples on stone walls. Musicians gather in halls, their songs soft and low. The king dines with his queen, surrounded by courtiers, generals, priests. Platters of roasted meats, bowls of figs, jars of wine fill the tables. Voices rise in laughter, in toast, in praise of the gods. Outside the palace, the city listens. The gardens are not for all. Only nobles, priests, chosen guests may walk their terraces, but even those outside feel pride, speaking of them as if they belonged to every Babylonian. For the gardens are symbol, proof that their city is wonder, that it is unmatched, that even in desert, paradise can bloom. You linger at a pool near the highest terrace. Stars shimmer above, reflected in the water. The air is cool, the scent of blossoms heavy, the sound of water steady. You breathe slowly, feeling the hush of night. It is dreamlike, fragile, as if it could vanish at any moment. And perhaps it will. Perhaps these gardens are only memory, only story, only dream, but tonight they are real, and you are within them. As dawn comes, the city stirs again. The water lifts upward, the vines glisten with dew, the terraces glow green in the sun. From the markets below, people look up, pointing, telling children that the gods themselves must dwell in such a place. From the river, sailors crane their necks, marveling at green above desert. From the walls, soldiers glance upward, their hearts proud. The gardens are not only palace, they are wonder, meant to be seen, meant to be remembered. And so they endure, whether in stone or in story. A gift of love, a feat of engineering, a dream carved into terraces. Perhaps they will fall, crumble, vanish into dust. Perhaps they already have. But the name remains, whispered across centuries, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. You close your eyes, hearing the water trickle, smelling the blossoms, feeling the cool air. The desert fades, the noise of the market drifts away. You rest in the shade of vines, in the hush of wonder, and the city breathes on, its heart green and eternal. The first light of dawn spreads across Babylon, and the city stirs awake. The market is not yet alive, the gardens still hold their dew, the walls stand quiet, but already smoke curls into the sky from temple courtyards, and the voices of priests rise in measured chant. Babylon is not only city of walls and markets, not only palaces and gardens, it is a city of gods. At its heart towers the ziggurat, a mountain of stone and mud brick, built by hands yet meant for heaven. It rises in layers, each tier stacked upon the last, wide at its base, narrowing as it climbs. Its name is whispered with awe, Itamananki, the house of the foundation of heaven and earth. From miles away, travelers see it first, its form cutting into the horizon, a stairway of earth reaching skyward. You stand at its base, and its size overwhelms you. Each side stretches broad as a field. Stairs climb steep and straight, worn by countless feet. The bricks are stamped with the names of kings, each one claiming his part in its rise. The air is heavy with the smell of bitumen, used to seal and bind. Children crane their necks to see its summit, their eyes wide with awe. Beside the ziggurat rises the temple of Marduk, Babylon's chief god, lord of creation, slayer of chaos, ruler of the divine assembly. Its walls are tall, its gates broad, its chambers filled with offerings. Priests in linen robes move through its halls, carrying trays of bread, bowls of dates, jars of beer and wine. Incense burns, thick and sweet, smoke rising like a bridge between earth and sky. You follow the procession inward. The people gather outside, bowing low, murmuring prayers. Only priests may enter the inner sanctum. The doors swing wide, carved with images of dragons and bulls, guardians of the god. Inside, shadows stretch long across polished stone. Torches flicker, casting light on walls painted with stars, with gods, with stories of creation. At the center stands the statue of Marduk. It is tall, gilded with gold, its eyes inlaid with lapis lazuli that gleam in the light. In one hand it holds the rod of kingship, in the other the ring of eternity. Its face is calm, serene, yet commanding. To the people, this is not mere statue, this is Marduk himself, dwelling within his house, watching over his city. The priests chant softly, their voices rising and falling like waves. They pour libations, scatter incense, lay bread and meat at the god's feet. They sing hymns. Marduk, Lord of Lords, King of Kings, who set the stars in order, who measured the waters, who slew Tiamat and made the world. Keeper of justice, protector of Babylon, Hear us. Their voices echo, filling the chamber with sound. You feel the weight of the ritual. It is not for show. It is necessity. Without these offerings, without these hymns, the world itself might slip into chaos. Marduk's strength sustains order, and the priest's work sustains Marduk. Once a year, during the Great New Year festival, the city gathers for 12 days of celebration. You walk among the crowds, the streets filled with song, with dance, with joy. Statues of gods from other temples are carried into Babylon, brought to pay homage to Marduk. The city swells with divine presence. Drums pound, flutes sing, banners wave. On the fourth day, priests recite the Enuma Elish, the epic of creation. Their voices proclaim the battle between Marduk and Tiamat, the chaos dragon. They tell how Marduk split her body, made the heavens from one half, the earth from the other. They tell how he set the stars, how he ordered time, how he made mankind to serve the gods. The people listen, their faces lit with firelight, their hearts swelling with pride. For they are Babylonian, chosen of Marduk, living at the center of the ordered world. On the fifth day, the king himself enters the temple. He kneels before Marduk's statue, laying aside his crown, his scepter, his sword. The high priest approaches, stripping him of regalia, striking his cheek. The king must weep. He must show humility. If he sheds tears, it is sign that Marduk accepts him still. If not, the city trembles, for it means the god's favor has withdrawn. You watch as the king's face bends, his shoulders heavy. Tears fall, slow and steady. The priest nods, replaces his crown, returns his scepter. The ritual is complete. The people cheer, their voices rising like thunder. Marduk has blessed their king. Order endures. On the 11th day, the statue of Marduk is carried in procession. Priests lift it high, veiled in linen, shimmering with gold. They move through the Ishtar gate, its walls blue with glazed brick, its surface adorned with lions, dragons, bulls. The people press close, scattering flowers, burning incense, singing hymns. Children sit on shoulders, craning to see. Women lift their hands, tears on their cheeks. Men bow low, their foreheads pressed to stone. The city itself moves with the god, beating like one heart. At the river, the statue is placed on a gilded bark. It glides across the Euphrates, torches lining its deck, musicians playing, priests chanting. The reflection shimmers in the water, fire and gold, mingling with night. It is a sight that lingers in memory long after it passes. The god sailing across his own creation, blessing it with presence. You walk back toward the ziggurat. Its steps steep, its summit lost in haze. Priests climb slowly, carrying offerings, singing softly. At the top, an altar waits beneath the sky. Here, it is said, the gods descend to meet the earth. Here, Marduk himself may rest, may look down upon his city, may bless it with his gaze. The air is thin, the wind sharp. From this height, Babylon lies below like a pattern of clay and water, fields stretching green beyond, desert stretching gold. You breathe slowly, feeling the stillness, the closeness of heaven. Night falls, and torches flicker along the ziggurat's edges. The city below glows faint, its fires scattered, its voices dim. You stand at the summit, the stars spread wide above, the river glimmering silver below. The chants of priests drift upward, steady and soft. You realize this is more than architecture, more than ritual. It is connection. The ziggurat is ladder, the temple is bridge, the ritual is thread. They bind heaven and earth, man and God, order and chaos. Without them, Babylon would not be Babylon. You lie in the cool night air, the bricks rough beneath your hands, the stars bright overhead. You hear the river, you hear the chants, you hear the silence between, and you know, this is the center of the world. Or so it feels, standing here, looking out across the land, believing that gods walk among you. And perhaps they do. The ziggurat tower's still in your memory, its steps stretching toward heaven, its rituals binding earth and sky. But Babylon's strength was never only in its gods. It was also in its order, its rules, its justice, its laws written, not in whispers but in stone. And at the heart of that order stands a name still spoken across centuries, Hammurabi. You walk into the city in his time, centuries before the gardens, before the splendor of Nebuchadnezzar. Babylon is smaller, not yet the vast empire it will become, but it is strong, its walls firm, its markets full, its temples alive, and at its center sits a king who understands that power is more than armies. Power is the ability to bind people, not only with fear, but with justice. Hammurabi is not the tallest of men, not the most imposing, but his eyes are sharp, his presence steady. He listens more than he speaks. He gathers scribes and judges, priests and elders, and he begins to carve a vision, not only of Babylon, but of how a people may live together in balance. You hear the murmurs in the marketplace as word spreads. The king is inscribing laws upon stone, laws for all to see, not whispered decrees, not hidden judgments, but words carved deep, visible to all who pass. It is unheard of. Most kings guard their power, shifting rules as they please, but Hammurabi binds himself as much as his people. What is written cannot be denied. You follow the crowd to the square where the stele stands. It is tall, black basalt, polished smooth, its surface covered with lines of cuneiform. At its top is carved a scene, Hammurabi standing before Shamash, the sun god, the god of justice. The god hands him the rod and ring, symbols of law and order. The message is clear. These laws are not merely Hammurabi's will, they are divine. The people gather around, their eyes scanning the symbols. Not all can read, but scribes recite them aloud, their voices carrying across the square. You listen, and the words strike you firm, steady, unyielding. They touch every part of life. If a man steals an ox, he shall repay fivefold. If he cannot, he shall be put to death. If a builder constructs a house, and it collapses and kills the owner, that builder shall be put to death. If it kills the owner's son, the builder's son shall be put to death. If a man puts out the eye of another, his eye shall be put out. If he breaks his bone shall be broken. The crowd murmurs. Some nod, satisfied that justice is clear. Others frown, uneasy at the harshness. But all understand, these are not suggestions. These are the rules of life, carved in stone. Yet, not all is vengeance. Other lines speak of fairness, of protection. If a man is accused of murder, but has no proof against him, he shall swear an oath before the gods and go free. If a man's field is flooded through no fault of his own, his taxes shall be remitted. If a merchant entrusts grain to another, and it is stolen, the thief shall repay double. If the thief is not found, the community shall make restitution. The laws reach everywhere. Marriage, trade, property, debt, slaves, children, injury, theft, inheritance. Nothing is left to chance. Nothing is left unwritten. You walk among the listeners. A farmer hears that if his neighbor diverts water to flood his field, the neighbor must repay him. He nods, satisfied. A woman hears that if her husband abandons her, she may remarry without shame. Her eyes widen with relief. A merchant hears that if he cheats his customer with false weights, his punishment will be swift. He grimaces, but accepts. Each person sees themselves within the stone. You look again at the top carving, Hammurabi before Shamash. The king is smaller than the god, his hands lifted in reverence. It is reminder and warning. Hammurabi does not place himself above the law. He is its servant, as all must be. Justice belongs to the gods, and kings only carry it out. At night, you sit in a courtyard, listening as neighbors discuss the laws. Some praise them, saying, "At last, disputes will not tear families apart. At last, there is certainty." Others complain that punishments are too harsh, too rigid, but even in their grumbling, you hear respect. The stone stands, and it cannot be argued away. In the days that follow, you see its effects. A thief caught in the market is brought before a judge. Witnesses speak, scribes write, and sentence is passed, not in anger, not in secrecy, but in line with the code. The thief trembles, the crowd murmurs, the punishment is swift, Order is kept. A woman brings complaint against her husband, saying he neglects her. The judge listens, consults the law, rules that she may return to her father's house and take her dowry with her. The husband shouts, but the people nod. The law is clear. The decision stands. For the first time, justice is not whim. It is stone, and the city breathes easier for it. You walk again to the stela, tracing the lines of cuneiform with your eyes. They march in steady rows, unending, each one carved by hand, each one pressed deep into basalt. They will not fade easily. They will last, carrying Hammurabi's vision across centuries. And indeed they do. Long after Babylon's walls crumble, long after its gardens vanish, long after its gods are silent, the laws remain. The stone itself will be carried away, buried, found again in far lands. Scholars will kneel before it, tracing its lines, reading its words, marveling at a king who carved justice into rock. But here, in this moment, it is new. The stela glimmers in sunlight. The people gather around. The priests nod. The scribes chant. Hammurabi walks among them, his head high, his eyes calm. He has not built gardens or palaces, not yet carved his name into wonder, but he has carved it into stone in another way, through order, through law, through justice. The city hums on, its markets alive, its temples busy, its walls strong, but within it now is something new, something firmer than brick, stronger than bronze, a code, a promise, a law. You breathe slowly, the words lingering in your ears, the chant of scribes, the murmur of people, the silent presence of the god carved above. Justice is no longer only a dream, it is stone beneath your hand, and Babylon stands stronger for it. The weight of Hammurabi's stone still lingers in your mind, the chiseled rows of laws, the carved hands of gods and kings. But Babylon is not only a city of rules, it is a place of living rhythms, of daily breath, of voices that rise not in decree, but in song. To know Babylon is not only to see its walls and temples, but to hear its music, to watch its artisans, to feel the gentle pulse of ordinary life moving through its streets. You rise with the city at dawn. The sun spills over the walls, light falling across rooftops of mud brick, across courtyards swept clean by women carrying baskets of reeds. Roosters crow, goats bleat, dogs bark. The Euphrates glimmers, carrying cool air from its waters into the waking streets. People step from their houses, stretching in the warm light, greeting neighbors with quiet words. The city breathes away. In a courtyard, you see a potter at work. His wheel spins, turned by foot, clay soft beneath his hands. He shapes it slowly, steadily, first a lump, then a form, then a jar rising tall, its sides smooth, its mouth wide. His fingers leave faint ridges, a pattern of touch that will remain even after the clay is baked. Around him, shelves hold rows of finished pots, their surfaces painted with lines of red and black. Each one is practical, made to hold grain, oil, beer, but each one also carries beauty, a small gift of craft woven into daily life. Nearby, a weaver sits at her loom, threads stretch tight, and her shuttle moves back and forth, quick and sure. The fabric grows beneath her hands, striped with color, soft to the touch. Children play at her feet, chasing each other around baskets of wool, their laughter mingling with the rhythm of the loom. The air smells faintly of dye indigo, madder, saffron, rich hues pulled from plants and earth, bound into cloth that will clothe bodies, cover beds, hang in doorways. You walk through the marketplace, and musicians gather at corners. One plucks a lyre, its strings trembling with soft notes. Another raises a flute of reed, its song high and clear. A drummer taps steady rhythm, hands firm on stretched skin. Their melodies weave together, rising above the hum of trade, giving the air a gentle sway. Children clap, women smile, men pause to listen before moving on. The music is not only entertainment, it is thread that binds the day, giving shape to labor and rest alike. In a scribe's workshop, the scratching of reeds on clay fills the air. Rows of students sit cross-legged, their tablets damp, their pens poised. A teacher dictates, his voice firm, his tone measured. Anu created the heavens. Ea created wisdom. Gilgamesh sought life eternal. The boys press symbols into clay, cuneiform lines, careful but uneven. Their hands smear with mud. Their brows furrow in concentration. These are not the children of laborers but of merchants, of scribes, of officials, for writing is precious, rare, a skill that opens doors to temple, court and trade. At the riverbank, fishermen cast nets into the Euphrates. The water splashes, cool against their legs. They pull the nets back, heavy with silver fish, scales flashing in the sun. They laugh, shouting as they haul their catch into boats, their arms strong from years of labor. Some gut fish immediately, tossing entrails into the river. Others lay them in baskets, carrying them to market, where women wait to buy, bargaining in quick voices. The smell of river and fish mixes with smoke and spice, filling the air. The daily rhythm stretches beyond work. At dusk, families gather in courtyards, sharing meals of bread and stew. The bread is flat, round, baked against hot stone, its edges crisp, its center soft. The stew is thick with beans, onions, garlic, sometimes meat, flavored with coriander and cumin. Beer is poured into clay mugs, its froth spilling over the rim, its taste sour and earthy. Children sit cross-legged, dipping bread, laughing with mouths full. Parents eat slowly, their voices low, their eyes tired but gentle. The day ends, not with silence, but with togetherness. In another house, a musician plays for guests. He plucks the strings of his lyre, his fingers quick, his voice rising in song. He sings of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, of friendship and loss, of a quest for immortality that ends only in grief. The guests nod, sipping wine, their eyes glimmering with firelight. Stories are not merely entertainment. They are memory, binding past to present, giving shape to meaning. You wander into a temple courtyard, smaller than the great ziggurat, but still alive with ritual. Priests chant hymns, their voices soft, their hands lifting incense. Women bring offerings of bread and fruit, laying them gently on altars. A boy releases a dove, its wings flashing white as it rises into the sky. The air smells of smoke and oil, heavy but sweet. The people bow their heads, murmuring prayers for health, for harvest, for children, for peace. At night, music drifts through the city. A woman sings softly to her child, her lullaby low and steady. A flute plays in the distance, its notes carrying across rooftops. Dogs bark, then settle. The river glimmers silver, its current slow, its voice steady. The stars spread wide overhead, countless, eternal. And as you listen, you realize that Babylon is not only a place of kings and wonders, it is also a place of ordinary lives, lived with rhythm, shaped by art, bound by song. The potter shaping clay, the weaver at her loom, the fisherman at his net, the child scratching symbols into clay, the family sharing bread, the mother singing her child to sleep. Each life small, each life fleeting, but together they make the city breathe. You close your eyes and hear it. The hum of music, the scratch of reeds, the clatter of pots, the laughter of children. It is quiet now, softened by night, but it lingers, steady as a heartbeat. And Babylon rests in rhythm, alive with art, alive with music, alive with life. The hum of daily life lingers in your memory. The potter at his wheel, the weaver at her loom, the fisherman casting nets. But Babylon is more than rhythm. It is ambition, carved in stone and written in stars. And no ruler embodies that ambition more than Nebuchadnezzar II, the king whose name stretches beyond centuries, whose shadow still falls across the story of this city. You step into Babylon at the height of his reign, and the city pulses with grandeur. Its walls are higher, broader, gleaming with new brick. Its gates are massive, decorated with creatures of myth. Its temples rise taller, richer, layered with gold. The air hums with voices, traders, priests, soldiers, artisans, each living beneath a king whose vision is vast and unyielding. Nebuchadnezzar strides through his palace, his robes heavy with embroidery, his crown glittering with jewels, his face is stern, his eyes sharp. He is not gentle, but he is not careless. He is a builder, a warrior, a dreamer of empire. To him, Babylon is not merely a city. It is the center of the world, the seat of power, the jewel of the gods, and he will shape it to prove that truth. You follow him through the palace halls, their walls covered with glazed brick, painted in blues and yellows, alive with images of lions, bulls, dragons. Servants bow low as he passes. Courtiers whisper. Generals stand tall, waiting for command. He speaks in measured words, but each one carries weight. He demands loyalty, demands labor, demands belief. His voice itself is law. Outside, workers toil in endless rhythm. They carry bricks, stones, beams. They lay mortar, carve reliefs, polish surfaces until they gleam. The city is one great construction site, growing daily. Nebuchadnezzar builds not only for utility, but for awe. He wants every traveler, every enemy, every subject to see Babylon and tremble, to know they stand before a city unlike any other. You walk to the Estar Gate, one of his greatest works. Its surface shines with deep blue tiles, glazed until they gleam like lapis under the sun. Upon it march rows of creatures, lions striding proud, bulls standing firm, dragons coiling fierce. Each figure is carved in relief, raised from the surface, alive with power. The gate towers above you, its arch massive, its walls thick, its passage grand. Soldiers guard it, but it is not only defense, it is spectacle. To pass through it is to pass into wonder. Beyond the gate stretches the processional way, a broad avenue paved with stone, lined with walls that shimmer with lions. During festivals, statues of gods are carried down this path, veiled and crowned, their priests chanting, their people singing. The king himself walks at the head, his robes trailing, his crown gleaming. Drums pound, flutes sing, banners wave. The city becomes theater, a stage of devotion and power. Nebuchadnezzar's building does not stop at gates. He raises temples to Marduk, rebuilding Ita-Menenkai, the great ziggurat, making it climb higher, stronger. He covers it with glazed tiles, paints its walls with stars, crowns its summit with gold. From miles away it gleams, a mountain of human hands, meant to touch heaven. To the Babylonians, it is proof of favor. To their enemies, it is intimidation carved in brick. The king also raises palaces, vast and sprawling, courtyards open wide, their floors paved in stone, their walls alive with painted figures. Throne rooms stretch long, their ceilings high, their columns massive. On walls hang tapestries woven with scenes of war and triumph, armies marching, enemies kneeling, kings bowing before Nebuchadnezzar. His reign is not only lived, it is displayed, immortalized in art. Yet Nebuchadnezzar is not only builder, he is conqueror. You march with his armies as they ride north and west, their banners snapping, their chariots thundering. They storm cities, break walls, burn palaces. They carry captives back to Babylon, craftsmen, scribes, singers, priests, folding their skills into the city's fabric. They plunder treasures, filling temples with gold, markets with goods, palaces with wonders. The wealth of nations flows into Babylon, and Nebuchadnezzar sits at its heart, master of it all. The city swells with strangers. Exiles walk its streets, their faces weary, their tongues foreign. Some are from Judah, taken when Jerusalem fell. Its temple burned, its people led captive. They weep by the river, singing songs of home, but their voices mingle with Babylon's hum. Their presence changes the city, adding new prayers, new stories, new songs. Babylon grows not only in wealth, but in diversity, becoming a tapestry of peoples woven by conquest. At night, Nebuchadnezzar walks the garden said to be built for his queen. Terraces rise, filled with green water spilling down stone. He breathes the damp air, listens to the trickle of streams, watches his wife's face soften in the presence of her homeland's memory. To him, the gardens are more than love. They are symbol proof that even in desert, paradise can be commanded. But his ambition is not without cost. The people labor under heavy taxes, long work, endless building. Soldiers march constantly, leaving families behind. Strangers live among Babylonians, sometimes peacefully, sometimes with resentment. The city glitters, but beneath its brilliance lies strain. Not all speak of him with awe. Some whisper of his cruelty, his temper, his pride. Some say his mind falters in later years, that he wanders his palace like a man lost. Whether true or not, the whispers linger, shadows at the edge of his brightness. Still, his reign leaves marks that cannot be erased. Babylon at its height is Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon. Its gates, its walls, its temples, its gardens, all carry his name, his seal, his will. To live in his city is to live in monument, to breathe in power carved into every brick. You stand again at the Ishtar Gate, its blue tiles glowing in the sun, its lions striding eternal. Crowds stream through it, merchants with carts, priests with offerings, soldiers with spears. Above them, the beasts watch, guardians of a city that believes itself unshakable, and at its heart sits Nebuchadnezzar, King of kings, builder of wonders, dreamer of power. The sun sets, and torches light the processional way. Their flames flicker on glazed bricks, making lions shimmer, dragons coil, bulls gleam. Musicians play, priests chant, families gather. The city glows, not only with fire, but with pride. For in their eyes Babylon is eternal. You close your eyes, hearing the drums, feeling the heat of torches, smelling the smoke of incense. For a moment you believe it too, that this city, under this king, will never fall. But the river flows, and time does not pause. Dreams of power may dazzle, but they do not last forever. And though Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon gleams brighter than ever, shadows already stir at its edges. For even wonders fall. You wander the market, and you see them. A group of men with beards trimmed in a style not Babylonian, their robes cut differently, their eyes watchful. They sell baskets they have woven from reeds, the patterns intricate, their craft carried from homeland to captivity. The woman sits nearby, grinding grain, her songs in a tongue you do not know. A child clings to her robe, dark eyes wide, his voice mixing with laughter of Babylonian children who tug him into their games. The streets of Babylon are never empty. They swell with life, markets humming, temples echoing, courtyards alive with laughter. But not every voice belongs to those who call the city home. Some voices carry accents of distant valleys, tongues of mountains far away, prayers of gods not born along the Euphrates. They are the voices of captives, strangers drawn here not by choice, but by conquest. To walk Babylon in Nebuchadnezzar's time is to walk among many peoples, woven together by empire. Not all strangers came as slaves. Some were artisans, taken in war but put to work in palace and temple, their skills valued. A jeweler from the west carves delicate designs into gold, his hand steady, his memory still full of his homeland. A scribe from the east bends over a tablet, writing in Babylon's tongue, but with the curve of another script still haunting his hand. A singer, trained in the temple of a god far away, now raises hymns to Marduk, her voice beautiful, her heart uncertain. You walk beside one of them, a young man carrying clay jars. His shoulders are strong, his face calm, but his eyes drift off into the river, as if its current carries memories he cannot let go. He speaks quietly of home, olive trees, hills, the temple's golden light. Now he serves in Babylon's kitchens, pouring wine for nobles who speak in voices foreign to his ears. He does not curse aloud, but his silence carries weight. The most famous among these are the exiles from Judah, taken when Jerusalem fell. Their city's walls were broken, their temple burned, their treasures carried away. They walk the streets of Babylon now, their steps heavy, their songs filled with longing. By the rivers of Babylon they sit and weep, remembering Zion, their harps hung on willow branches, their voices refusing to sing songs of joy in a foreign land. And yet, some adapt, some trade, some rise to positions of service. Their prophets speak of hope, of return, of a God who has not forgotten them. Babylon prides itself on greatness, on wonder, on beauty, but for the strangers within its walls, that beauty can feel like cage. The Estar Gate dazzles with its blue bricks and striding lions, but to those carried here in chains, it is reminder of defeat. The ziggurat towers toward heaven, but to some, it blocks the sky of their homeland. The gardens bloom in terraces of green, but their fragrance cannot cover the scent of longing that clings to the captives. And yet, the city changes them, and they change the city. Strangers bring new crafts, new songs, new prayers. A potter, from a distant land, teaches new methods of firing clay. A singer from the mountains brings melodies that weave into Babylon's music. A priest from exile whispers stories that mingle with Babylon's own myths. Babylon is not only conqueror, it is absorber, drawing in what it conquers, weaving it into itself. In temples you see foreign captives working as attendants, sweeping floors, carrying offerings, lighting lamps. Their gods are not worshipped here, but their hands still serve. Some whisper their own prayers as they lay bread before Marduk's statue, asking not his blessing, but that their own God hear them through the smoke. Their faith lingers, quiet, but unbroken, even as they bow before altars not their own. Children born here grow between worlds. They learn Babylonian words, Babylonian games, Babylonian hymns. But they also hear the stories of their parents, the hills of Judah, the temples of Elam, the valleys of Syria. Their eyes carry both memory and newness. They may never see their parents' homelands, yet they are not fully Babylonian either. They walk between belonging and not belonging. Nebuchadnezzar himself walks his city, proud of its diversity. To him, captives are trophies of conquest, proof of his power. He parades them in chains, then sets them to work in building, in service, in craft. He believes Babylon stronger for their presence, their labor, their skill, and in truth, the city does grow richer. Its markets swell with new goods, its temples with new art, its language with new words. The captives suffer, but their suffering feeds the city's grandeur. Still, beneath the glitter, tension hums. Some captives plot rebellion, whispering of escape, of revolt. Some refuse to bow, choosing silence over compromise. Some blend quietly, their resistance hidden in survival. Babylon believes itself eternal. But within its walls are those who dream of its fall, who pray for its end, who see in its glory only chains. At night you hear them sing. Groups gather by the river, their voices low, their songs heavy with sorrow. They sing of cities lost, of temples burned, of gods who seem distant in the smoke of war. They sing of hope too, of return, of restoration. Their songs drift across the water, carried on the current, mingling with Babylon's hum. Even those who do not understand the words feel their weight. You walk again through the marketplace, and you hear the mingling of tongues. Akkadian, Aramaic, Hebrew, Elamite. You see the mingling of faces, Babylonian, Judean, Persian, Assyrian. You smell the mingling of foods, bread of barley, stews of lentils, wines from distant vineyards. The city is mosaic, dazzling but fractured, each piece shining yet carrying its own story of pain and pride. You lie by the river, listening to their songs. The stars shimmer overhead, countless, silent. The Euphrates flows on, carrying voices, carrying dreams. Babylon sleeps, proud and vast. But within its walls, strangers still remember, still hope, still sing. At dusk, a captive woman tells her child a story. She speaks of a garden far away, where vines grew heavy, and olives glistened in the sun. She tells him one day they will return, that these walls will not hold them forever. The boy listens, his eyes wide, his breath slow. Outside, Babylon glows with torches, its walls strong, its temples tall. But in her story, another world lives, carried in memory, unbroken by conquest. And you realize, every empire is built not only on its own people, but on those it conquers. And in their songs, in their whispers, in their prayers, lies the seed of future change. Babylon gleams now, but its walls hold both pride and sorrow, and in the hum of strangers' voices, You hear the first faint cracks of wonder beginning to tremble. The walls of Babylon may rise high. Its temples may glitter with gold. Its markets may overflow with goods. But beneath it all, there is one truth. Without the Euphrates, there is no city. The river is not only water, it is lifeline, boundary, heartbeat. You walk to its banks at dawn, and you feel it immediately, its cool breath rising in the heat, its surface shining with the first light of day. The Euphrates flows broad and steady, its current carrying silt, rich with life. Farmers stand knee-deep in its waters, guiding channels into fields. With simple tools of wood and reed, they draw the river into ditches, flooding barley and wheat. Without this irrigation, the land would be dust, barren and unyielding. With it, fields shimmer green, stalks heavy with grain. From this, bread is made, beer brewed, bodies nourished. Every loaf, every cup, every meal in Babylon carries the taste of the river. You walk along an irrigation canal, the water rippling softly, its banks lined with reeds. Children chase frogs, their laughter echoing. Women bend to wash clothes, beating them against stones. The rhythm steady, splash. Men repair the banks, shoring up walls of mud to keep the water flowing true. The work is endless. The canals silt up, banks collapse, floods sweep away channels. But the people persist, for without this labor, there is no life. In the marketplace, the river's bounty fills stalls. Fish glisten silver on mats, their scales catching the light. Barley is piled high, sacks heavy with grain. Jars of beer stand frothy, brewed from river-fed fields. Even the reeds themselves are goods woven into mats, baskets, sandals, ropes. The river gives not only food, but material, binding daily life. At the docks, ships bob in the current. Their sails are furled, their hulls heavy with cargo. Merchants unload goods, cedar from the north, copper from the east, gold from the south. The river is rowed, carrying wealth across lands. Barges move slow but steady, their crews guiding with poles, their songs rising over the water. Without the Euphrates, Babylon would be a city of walls with nothing to fill them. With it, the city becomes crossroads of the world. You step aboard a boat and feel it sway beneath your feet. The crew pushes off, poles dipping into water, the current catching. The river glides beneath you, its surface shimmering with sun, its depths dark and silent. Along its banks rise walls of mud brick, groves of palms, fields green and gold. The city towers in the distance, its ziggurat climbing skyward, its gates glowing blue. From the river, Babylon seems to float, a dream resting upon water. But the river is not only gift, it is boundary. It divides the city, flowing directly through its heart. Bridges of stone and wood connect the banks, crowded with carts, donkeys, people pressing back and forth. Soldiers stand at each end, keeping watch, for the river is also vulnerability. To cross it unguarded is to expose the city. To control it is to hold power. At night, the river whispers differently. Its current glimmers in moonlight, its surface broken by the ripple of fish, the dip of oars. Lovers walk its banks, their voices soft, their steps slow. Captives sit beside it, their songs heavy with longing, remembering other rivers, other lands. Priests release offerings upon it, reed boats filled with food, with flowers, with prayers, letting the current carry them to gods unseen. The Euphrates is both sacred and ordinary, both road and temple. In times of flood, it is fury. The waters rise high, spilling over banks, sweeping away houses, drowning fields. Families scramble to higher ground, their cries sharp in the roar of water. Yet even in destruction, it is gift, for when the floods retreat, they leave behind silt rich with life, soil dark and fertile. The people fear and love the river, curse and praise it in the same breath. In times of drought, it is silence. The waters shrink, the canals dry, fields wither, the air fills with dust. The people's faces grow hollow, priests chant louder, offerings pile higher, hoping to coax the river's favor, for without its flow, no law, no wall, No temple can save Babylon. You stand upon a bridge at sunset, the water below glowing red with firelight. Boats drift, their torches shimmering on the current. The air is thick with sound, drums from temples, cries from markets, laughter from courtyards. The river reflects it all, carrying the life of the city upon its surface. You realize then that Babylon is not built on stone or brick, but on water. The Euphrates is foundation, unseen yet essential. But the river is also future. Far away, armies watch. They see Babylon's walls, unbreakable, unyielding. They hear of its gates, its temples, its wealth. They know they cannot storm its defenses, but they also know this. The city drinks from the river, and what gives life may also bring weakness. For now, though, Babylon is unafraid. Its people draw water, wash clothes, cast nets. Children play in its shallows, soldiers march across its bridges, priests float offerings upon its current. The Euphrates flows steady, eternal, in their eyes. You sit by its edge, the cool air brushing your skin, the sound of water soft against stone. The stars shimmer above, their reflections trembling on the surface. You breathe slowly, listening, feeling. The river hums low, carrying centuries, carrying life, and Babylon rests upon it, believing itself eternal. The river still flows steady, the walls still tower strong, the temples still glow with offerings, and yet, beneath it all, something begins to shift. Babylon gleams brighter than ever, its gates alive with lions, its palaces filled with feasts, its gardens blooming in terraces of green. To walk its streets is to believe in eternity. But eternity is fragile, and behind the glitter of wealth, the rhythm of decline has already begun. You walk through the market, and it seems as busy as always. Merchants shout, children play, musicians strum their lyres. Yet listen closely, and you hear new notes. A merchant complains of taxes heavier than before. A farmer mutters that canals are silted and repairs delayed. A craftsman grumbles that officials take bribes, favoring the rich over the poor. Life continues, but unease hums beneath it. Inside the palace, Nebuchadnezzar's successors sit uneasy on the throne. None are builders like him, none are warriors with his fire. They inherit his monuments, but not his vision. Courtiers whisper, generals jostle for power, priests argue over offerings. Decisions grow slow, uncertain. The city is strong in stone, but weaker in spirit. The priests of Marduk grow restless. They demand ever more tribute, ever more sacrifices, their power swelling as kings falter. In temple courtyards, offerings pile high, but the poor outside go hungry. The people begin to murmur. The gods are fed, but what of us? Priests claim that famine is punishment, that drought is divine displeasure, but the people's trust wears thin, their faith shifting from reverence to resentment. The army, once proud and strong, begins to lose edge. Campaigns grow fewer, victories rarer. Soldiers grumble that their pay is late, their rations thin. Captains sell posts for silver, placing men in command not for merit but for bribes. Borders once held firm begin to blur. Enemies, once driven back, now press closer. The city's heart beats on, but its limbs weaken. You walk again through the Estar Gate, and it still dazzles. The lions still stride proud, the dragons still coil fierce. The bricks still gleam blue, yet cracks begin to show. Tiles loosen, paint fades, weeds creep at the base. Repairs are made, but hurried, imperfect. The gate remains grand, but if you look closely, you see time at work. In the gardens, water still flows, vines still hang, flowers still bloom, but whispers say the pumps falter more often now, the workers fewer, the upkeep costly. The terraces remain lush, but the strain of sustaining paradise grows heavier. The wonder still stands, but the effort shows. At the river, barges still arrive, their decks laden with goods, but trade routes shift. Wars disrupt supply, merchants complain of tolls too high. Caravans from distant lands grow fewer, markets still hum, but the variety lessens. The stalls thinner, wealth still flows, but not as it once did. The city's appetite remains vast, but the feast begins to shrink. At night, in taverns and courtyards, voices speak more freely. They remember Nebuchadnezzar's strength, his building, his victories. They compare him to kings now, weaker, hesitant, indulgent. They whisper that Babylon has lost its fire, that its glory is memory more than present. Laughter still fills the streets, but beneath it is edge, brittle and sharp. The captives within the walls still live, still sing, still hope. That their numbers grow, their presence stronger. They keep their own faiths, their own memories, their own songs of return. To them, Babylon's decline is not sorrow but promise, a crack through which hope might enter. Their prayers whisper of an end to captivity, an end to Babylon's pride. Outside the city, other powers stir. Persia grows strong, its armies disciplined, its kings ambitious. They watch Babylon from afar, seeing not an eternal wonder, but a ripe prize. They know they cannot storm the walls by force, but they also know that cracks within will widen. Time is their ally. You sit in a courtyard at dusk, listening to a storyteller. He speaks of kings of old, of Hammurabi who carved laws in stone, of Nebuchadnezzar who built wonders. The listeners nod, their faces wistful. The children's eyes widen, but the adults glance at one another, their smiles thin. They know those days are past. They know the present does not match the story. You walk again through the palace. The halls are still grand, the walls painted, the floors polished. But servants mutter, officials quarrel, guards slouch. The air is not filled with confidence, but with tension. Each man seeks his own advantage, each eye wary of rivals. The throne still stands, but the weight upon it is heavier than the man who sits there can bear. At night, you climb the ziggurat. From its summit you see the city spread wide, walls glowing in torchlight, markets flickering, courtyards alive with laughter. It still seems eternal, still seems strong. Yet beyond the walls, darkness stretches, vast and silent. In that darkness, armies gather. You cannot see them, not yet, but you feel their presence, like a storm pressing at the horizon. The Euphrates flows steady, carrying its gift of life. But some whisper that it is also weakness, that the river which nourishes Babylon may one day betray it. The people dismiss it as foolish talk, but the whisper lingers, soft as water against stone. And so Babylon glitters still, dazzling to those who visit, proud to those who dwell within. But you who walk its streets, who listen to its voices, who feel its rhythm, you sense the shift. Behind the brilliance, decay creeps. Beneath the glory, cracks spread. The city believes itself eternal, but eternity begins to tremble. You lie in the cool night, the stars wide above, the river whispering below. Babylon sleeps, proud and unaware, but you cannot shake the sense that its dream is fragile, that its wonder is already beginning to fade. For all things built by human hands must one day fall, and Babylon, brightest of cities, is no exception. The whispers of weakness ripple through Babylon's streets, carried in courtyards, spoken in markets, murmured in temples. Yet while the city looks inward, while it patches cracks and clings to memories, beyond its walls a new power rises. Eastward, across mountains and plains, a kingdom grows with quiet determination. Its name is Persia, its king is Cyrus, and the weight of his ambition is about to shift the world. You walk beyond the horizon, into lands once thought distant, lands of rugged terrain and scattered tribes. Here, Cyrus begins, not as master of empires, but as leader of men hardened by hunger, sharpened by survival. His people are not wealthy, not adorned in luxury. They are riders and fighters, disciplined and lean. Yet in their king burns a vision as vast as the desert sky. Cyrus does not conquer with cruelty alone. He is cunning, pragmatic, patient. He builds alliances where others would spill blood. He promises protection, order, fairness. And in a world weary of tyrants, his promises find eager ears. One by one, kingdoms fold into his growing realm. Not shattered by sword, but persuaded by the possibility of something greater. Where resistance rises, his armies prove relentless, swift and organized, their discipline unmatched. You march with them across plains where dust rises like smoke, across rivers where bridges of wood creak under weight of men, across mountains where wind bites sharp. Their banners stream in the sun, their voices chant in rhythm, their commanders move with precision. This is not the chaos of raiders. This is the machinery of empire. In the west, Lydia falls. Its wealth is vast, its king proud, but its armies falter before Cyrus's cunning. In the east, tribes submit, their resistance swallowed by his growing power. One by one, pieces of the ancient world bend toward Persia, and always, Cyrus looks westward, toward Mesopotamia, toward Babylon, toward the jewel that gleams brightest of all. News reaches Babylon of Persia's rise. Merchants whisper of Cyrus's victories, of kings defeated, of cities opening their gates. Priests scoff, saying Babylon's gods will protect it, saying Marduk himself guards their walls. Generals reassure, pointing to the height of the gates, the strength of the army, the breadth of the Euphrates. The people nod, comforted, but unease lingers. You walk through the palace, and you hear the debate. Courtiers argue whether Cyrus is threat or distant rumor. Some call him barbarian, unworthy of fear. Others warn that his conquests are swift, his methods clever, his power not to be dismissed. The king listens, his face stern, his eyes shadowed. He commands preparations, but not with urgency. Babylon has stood for centuries, its walls unbreached, its gods unchallenged. Why should it fall now? Still, soldiers drill more often. Supplies are stored, spies are sent into Persia, returning with tales of discipline, of order, of loyalty. The stories are troubling, yet the city clings to pride. The Estar Gate still gleams, the ziggurat still towers, the markets still overflow, the people laugh, feast, sing. They do not yet believe the shadow gathering beyond their horizon. Meanwhile, Cyrus marches closer. He does not hurry. He gathers allies, wins cities without blood, takes roads and rivers one by one. His army grows not only in size but in diversity. Persians, Medes, Lydians, and more. Each new conquest adds strength, each new subject adds knowledge. He becomes not only king of Persia, but king of nations. You stand in his camp at night. Fires glow across the plain, thousands of them. A constellation of men, soldiers, sit in circles, eating bread, drinking water, sharpening weapons. Commanders pore over maps, their voices low. Cyrus himself moves among them, speaking not with arrogance, but with calm assurance. He tells them of Babylon, of its pride, of its wealth, of its gods. He tells them they will not only take a city, but claim the heart of the world. His voice is steady, measured, and the men listen with fierce devotion. In Babylon, the river flows as always. Children play in its shallows, fishermen cast nets, priests float offerings. Life continues, seemingly unchanged. But spies whisper that Cyrus draws near. Some nobles grow anxious, sending secret messages, wondering if their loyalty should shift before it is too late. Some priests wonder if perhaps Marduk's will is changing. If the god of order now favors a new master. Whispers creep into prayer, doubt curls around faith. You walk through the streets at dusk, and you see torches lit along the walls. Soldiers pace, their armor clinking, their voices low. The gates are closed earlier now, their bronze bindings checked twice. Markets still hum, but quieter, more cautious. The city that once laughed at threats now listens for them. And then, one day, the news is clear. Cyrus has crossed into Babylonian lands. His armies march along rivers, their pace steady, their banners bright. They do not scatter or raid. They move with purpose, with design. Villages fall without resistance, some opening gates willingly, weary of Babylon's taxes, eager for Persia's promises. The empire that seemed eternal feels its borders shrink. The king rallies his generals, sends orders to fortify, commands prayers to Marduk. Priests chant louder, offerings pile higher. Processions move through the streets. The people bow, their voices pleading. But even as hymns rise, unease deepens. Can walls alone stop what moves with such certainty? Can rituals alone hold back the march of empire? Cyrus does not rush to Babylon. He circles, he waits, he studies. He knows the city cannot be taken by storm. Its walls are too high, its gates too strong, its defenders too many. But he also knows the city depends on the river, and rivers, unlike walls, can be bent. In the Persian camp, engineers draw plans, measuring currents, marking banks. Soldiers dig canals, pile earth, divert streams. It is slow work, patient work, but Cyrus is not in haste. He knows time itself is ally. Babylon grows complacent again, thinking the Persians stalled, yet beneath the surface the plan deepens, waiting for the moment to strike. At night, you walk Babylon's walls, the torches flickering, the city glowing beneath you. It still looks eternal, still feels invincible. The Euphrates flows strong beneath, carrying its gift of life. Yet you know now, it is not only gift, it is weakness waiting to be touched. The march of Persia continues, steady and sure. And though Babylon still glitters, its days of pride are numbered. Cyrus waits, patient as stone, certain as water. The shadow lengthens, the wonder trembles, and the fall moves closer with every step. The river glides through Babylon as it always has, broad and shining, its current carrying life into canals, into fields, into homes. Children laugh in its shallows, fishermen haul their nets, priests float offerings to the gods. To the city, the Euphrates is lifeline, eternal and steady. But in the Persian camp beyond the horizon, the same river is studied with quiet intent. Cyrus looks upon it not as lifeline but as key. He knows the walls of Babylon are unyielding. He knows the gates are bronze and iron, thick and unbreakable. He knows armies would break like waves against them. But he also knows this: walls are made for men, not for rivers. A river may be bent, its current may be guided, and where water flows, soldiers may follow. Weeks pass, and Persia digs. Soldiers sweat in the sun, their hands blistered from shovels and picks. Earth piles high, as trenches stretch across plain. Engineers measure, adjust, redirect. Slowly, carefully, the Euphrates begins to shift. Its waters spill into channels, its current guided away from the city. Day by day, the river that once flowed strong beneath Babylon's walls grows weaker, shallower. To the Babylonians above, it seems strange, but not urgent. Rivers rise and fall, floods come and go. They trust the gods to balance it, trust Marduk to guard his city. They do not see the danger creeping with each lowering of the waterline. At night, torches burn on Babylon's walls. Guards pace, their eyes fixed outward, their ears straining. Yet they hear nothing of the digging, nothing of the shifting waters. The city believes itself eternal, its defenses unbreakable. The priests chant, the people feast, the nobles drink wine from golden cups. Babylon sleeps in pride, even as its lifeline drains away. And then comes the night. The festival has begun. Drums beat in courtyards, flutes sing in streets, torches blaze in processional way. The Ishtar gate glimmers in firelight, its lions and dragons flickering, as if alive. In temples, priests pour libations, scatter incense, chant hymns until their voices crack. The king dines with nobles, his tables piled high with roasted meat, with figs and dates, with jars of wine spilling over. Laughter rings in the palace halls. Outside, the people dance, their feet stamping, their voices lifted in joy. Babylon glows with revelry. But beyond the walls, in the darkness, the Persians wait. The river has sunk low, its bed exposed in places, its current shallow. Soldiers crouch in silence, their armor dull, their torches darkened. The moon shines on the water, glinting faint on spears, on helmets, on eyes steady with focus. Commands are whispered, not shouted. This is not battle, this is entry. They step into the riverbed. Mud clings to their sandals, water swirls around their knees, then their thighs, but no higher. The current pushes, but not enough to sweep them away. Row upon row, line upon line, they march in silence beneath the walls, where the great gates of bronze once sank into deep water. Tonight, the gates stand above the shallows, unguarded. The Babylonians never imagined an enemy would come from beneath, through the river itself. You move with them, your breath shallow, your feet heavy in mud. The walls loom above, vast and silent. Torches flickering far overhead. From the city comes the faint sound of music, laughter, drums. No alarm rings, no soldiers wait. The gates, once the pride of Babylon, hang useless, their bottoms no longer shielded by the current, and so the Persians pass beneath, unseen, unstoppable. Inside, they emerge into shadowed streets. Their boots drip water, their armor gleams faint in moonlight. They spread silently, swift and precise. Guards on the walls still pace, unaware. Priests still chant, their voices rising in praise of Marduk. Families still dance, their laughter echoing through alleys. The city sleeps in its own celebration, blind to the danger flowing through its heart. The Persians move quickly. They seize gates, opening them to the waiting army outside. They secure streets, cutting paths through the city. By the time alarms finally sound, it is too late. Soldiers scramble, but many are drunk from the feast, their movements slow. Nobles stagger from their tables, shocked from revelry into fear. Priests clutch their gods' images, their voices cracking. The city, so proud, so sure, falls without knowing it was in danger until the moment is upon them. You stand in the palace hall as word arrives. The king stiffens, his face pale, his cup slipping from his hand. Generals rush in, their voices urgent, but already the sounds of Persians echo in the streets beyond. The walls that seemed eternal have failed not by breach, not by storm, but by neglect, by pride, by blindness. The gates that guarded so fiercely stand open now, not by force but by cunning. Outside, the Estar gate looms still, its lions striding, its dragons coiling, its bricks gleaming blue in torchlight. But beneath it, Persians march, their banners rising, their voices low. The processional way, once filled with hymns and festivals, fills now with soldiers moving like tide. The ziggurat towers above, silent, watching. The Euphrates flows still, but diverted, bent, used not as lifeline, but as weapon. The people wake to chaos. Some cry out, some flee, some hide in homes, pressing children to their chests. Others rush to temples, begging gods for protection. But the gods are silent. The Persians move swiftly, their discipline unbroken, their orders clear. They do not slaughter indiscriminately. Cyrus has commanded restraint. The city is to be taken, not destroyed. But for the Babylonians, pride itself dies that night. Their walls, their gates, their gods, none have saved them. By dawn, it is finished. The sun rises over the walls, casting light upon soldiers not of Babylon but of Persia. The city lies quiet, stunned. Its people stand in silence, their eyes hollow, their mouths dry. The banners of Cyrus fly above gates that once seemed eternal. The dream of Babylon as unshakable wonder dissolves like mist in morning. And you, standing by the river, see it clearly. The same waters that gave life have brought downfall. The same current that fed fields, markets, temples has carried soldiers beneath gates. The river was gift. Tonight, it is betrayal. The Persians march through streets still scented with incense, still echoing with faint songs of festival. They march past temples, past gardens, past palaces. The city remains, its walls unbroken, its towers unfallen. But within, everything has changed. Babylon has fallen, not with roar, but with silence, not with fire, but with cunning. You breathe slowly, the night air cool, the dawn brightening. The city looks the same, but it is no longer Babylon the Great. It is Babylon conquered, and the wonder begins to fade. Dawn spreads across the plain soft and pale. The sun climbs over the walls of Babylon, gilding the blue-glazed bricks of the Estar gate, setting a faint shimmer upon the lions and dragons that stride across its surface. To an outside eye, the city looks unchanged. Its walls still stand unbroken, its ziggurat still towers, its palaces still gleam, but the silence is different. The air carries not pride but shock, not laughter but stillness. Babylon has fallen, and it has fallen without a cry. You walk the streets in the early light, and you see it. The markets that once hummed with shouts and song are hushed. Stalls are shuttered, their goods untouched. Families huddle in courtyards, whispering, their faces pale. Children cling to mothers, wide-eyed, sensing the weight of change. Dogs prowl restless, their barks sharp against the silence. Even the river flows quieter, as if aware of the city's shame. Persian soldiers move through the streets disciplined, steady, their boots strike in rhythm. Their banners ripple faint in the morning breeze. They do not plunder wildly, do not burn houses or temples. Cyrus has commanded restraint, and his men obey. Their task is not destruction, but possession. Babylon is too valuable to shatter. Its wealth, its temples, its people, all are now part of Persia's empire. In the palace, nobles gather with ashen faces. Some bow quickly, offering gifts, pledging loyalty to Cyrus. Others stand silent, their pride choking their throats. The king, once proud, is humiliated. Stripped of power, his throne no longer his own. He does not rage. He does not fight. He simply bows his head, the weight of defeat bending him. A ruler of Babylon, once thought divine, now stands as subject. You step into the temple of Marduk, and you feel the tension heavy in the air. Priests chant, their voices trembling. The statue of the god gleams still, its lapis eyes glimmering in torchlight, its golden robes radiant. But the priests themselves are shaken. They had promised the people that Marduk would protect them, that Babylon was his chosen city, eternal and unassailable. Yet the Persians walk its streets, the walls stand, the temples shine, but the god has not defended his people. Whispers ripple. Has Marduk abandoned them? Has he chosen Cyrus instead? The Persians enter the temple, not with torches, but with offerings. They bow, they burn incense, they lay gifts before Marduk. Cyrus has commanded it. He does not seek to mock Babylon's gods, but to claim their favor. He proclaims himself chosen of Marduk, protector of the city, restorer of order. His words are pragmatic, but to the priests they are salvation. Better to serve a new king than lose their place entirely. Slowly, reluctantly, they nod. Accept. The people watch from doorways, from alleys, from rooftops. They see soldiers pass, priests bow, nobles kneel. Some cry silently, others simply stare. No great battle has scarred their city. No flames rise from their homes. But the wound is deeper, invisible. Babylon has fallen not with fire, but with silence. Its pride is broken, its eternity ended, and there is no cry, no roar, only stillness. You walk along the processional way, and you remember the festivals, the parades of gods, the drums and flutes, the laughter of crowds. Today, it is quiet. A few Persians march its length, their steps steady, their voices low. The lions on the walls still stride, but they stride for another now. The street that once carried gods, carries conquerors. In courtyards families gather, speaking softly. Some grieve openly, their tears falling freely. Others sit in silence, stunned. Some whisper that perhaps life will not change much, that the Persians seem fair, that Cyrus is merciful, that perhaps Babylon will endure under new rule. But beneath it all is the same truth. The city has lost what it prized most, its freedom, its pride, its illusion of eternity. At the river, fishermen still cast nets, though their hands tremble. Merchants still count coins, though their voices are hushed. The Euphrates flows as it always has, indifferent to who rules its banks. But the people feel the difference. They see Persians walking its bridges, standing guard at its docks, watching with foreign eyes. The river carries life still, but it no longer carries Babylon's alone. By night, the city lies in shadow, torches flickering faint on walls. The sounds of revelry are gone. No music drifts from courtyards. No laughter rises from taverns. The silence is heavier than battle, more haunting than fire. Babylon has fallen not in flames, but in surrender. and that silence cuts deeper than any sword. You walk again to the Ishtar gate. By day, it still gleams, its blue tiles bright, its beasts striding proud. By night, it looms darker, its beauty dulled. Once it was symbol of invincibility, now it is symbol of irony. The gate still stands, but the city it guards has yielded. Its glory remains, but its meaning has shifted. The Persians do not gloat. Cyrus is shrewd. He enters the city not with arrogance but with ceremony. He proclaims himself liberator, not destroyer. He speaks of restoring gods to their temples, of protecting traditions, of bringing peace. The people listen, uncertain. His words are kind, but they come from conqueror's mouth. Still, some find comfort. Better a conqueror who spares than one who burns. Better submission than ruin. And yet, for all the calm, the wound festers. To those who loved Babylon, who believed it eternal, the silence is unbearable. They remember the words of prophets, who warned of pride, who foretold of fall. They remember songs of exile, sung by captives beside the river. They see now that the songs were not empty. The city has fallen, as all cities must. You sit by the Euphrates at dawn, the water glimmering faint in new light. The river flows as always, its current steady, its banks alive with reeds. Children play, splashing, their laughter soft. Life continues, as it always does. But above them, the city is changed. Its pride is broken, its glory dimmed. Babylon endures in stone, in walls, in temples, but not in spirit. The fall has come, not with roar, but with hush. Not with fire, but with surrender. Not with destruction, but with silence. And that silence is heavier than any battle cry. You close your eyes, and you feel it. The weight of pride shattered, the hum of eternity fading. Babylon has fallen, and the world turns on. The streets of Babylon lie hushed, but beyond its walls, voices rise. The fall of the great city ripples outward, carried on caravans, whispered in taverns, sung by poets in distant lands. Babylon, once proud, once eternal in its own eyes, is now story, and every people who hears it makes it their own. You travel east with the Persians, their banners bright, their voices steady. In their chronicles, Babylon's fall is not tragedy, but triumph. They write of Cyrus as chosen by the gods, favored by Marduk himself. They say the priests welcomed him, that the god of Babylon turned from its failing kings to embrace Persia's strength. In their version, the fall is liberation, not conquest. Cyrus is not destroyer, but restorer, the shepherd of peoples, the bringer of order. The Persians carve inscriptions on cylinders of clay, their lines steady, their tone calm. They tell how Cyrus returned statues of gods taken by Babylon, how he restored temples, how he honored traditions. They claim he gave freedom to captives, sent exiles home, restored them to their lands. In these words, he is not merely conqueror, he is chosen ruler, beloved of gods and men. And to those who live under his reign, these inscriptions are proof. You walk west, and you hear another voice. The exiles of Judah lift their songs, their eyes glimmering with hope. For them the fall of Babylon is not sorrow, but salvation. Their prophets had spoken of this day, warning that Babylon's pride would crumble, promising that their God would free them. Now they see it fulfilled. To them, Cyrus is instrument, the anointed one sent to end their captivity. They sing of return, of rebuilding, of freedom. Their words carry joy where Babylon feels only loss. In their scriptures, the story takes form. They write of the hand of God moving, of walls trembling, of pride humbled. They do not tell of rivers diverted or gates unguarded. They tell of prophecy fulfilled, of justice served. Babylon becomes symbol, not merely city, but embodiment of arrogance, punished by the divine. To them its fall is lesson, that no empire, however mighty, can stand against the will of heaven. You wander farther, to the lands of Greece, where travelers bring tales of the great city's fall. Greek storytellers seize upon the wonder, weaving it into their own patterns. They marvel at Babylon's size, its walls so broad a chariot might ride upon them, its gardens hanging high. They marvel too at its sudden fall, how a city so vast could be taken in a single night. To them, it is caution and curiosity both. They speak of rivers diverted, of gates left open, of revelry that blinded defenders. They do not tell it as prophecy, nor as liberation, but as marvel, another example of fortune's fickle hand. In their writings, Babylon is wonder turned warning. Herodotus, wandering and listening, will one day record stories of her walls, her towers, her gardens, her downfall. Some details will blur, some exaggerate, but the core remains. Babylon was great, and Babylon fell. To the Greeks who prize balance and moderation, her story is lesson against hubris, pride that blinds and brings ruin. You sit in a marketplace far from Mesopotamia, and you hear merchants repeating the tale. To some, it is miracle. To others, it is clever strategy. To all, it is proof that no city, however high its walls, is safe forever. They shake their heads, they smile, they wonder, and with each telling, the story shifts, shaped by tongue and ear alike. Back in Babylon, the people live the reality, heavy with silence. But already, beyond its walls, the myth is born. To Persians, it is triumph of Cyrus. To Hebrews, it is justice of God. To Greeks, it is marvel of fortune. To others, it is rumor, story, lesson. And so Babylon begins its afterlife, not in stone but in memory, in words carried farther than its armies ever marched. You walk through the ruins of time, and you see how the echoes grow. Centuries later, scribes will still write of Babylon, as symbol of pride, as warning of downfall. Poets will use its name for arrogance punished, prophets for sin destroyed, philosophers for impermanence. Its walls may crumble, its gates collapse, but its story will remain, shaped by those who never walked its streets. Each echo is different. Each telling bends truth. Yet together they weave something larger. Babylon becomes not city but symbol, not place but idea. The Persians say it proves Cyrus chosen by gods. The Hebrews say it proves their God's justice. The Greeks say it proves fortune's power, and later others will say it proves the vanity of pride, the fleetingness of all things built by men. You sit by a fire in distant land, listening as a storyteller recounts Babylon's fall. His eyes gleam, his hands gesture, his voice rises and falls. The listeners gasp, nod, whisper. None of them have seen the city. None of them know its walls, its gates, its gardens. Yet, they feel its story, and in feeling it, Babylon lives again, though not as it was, but as symbol, as lesson, as echo. In this way, Babylon falls twice. Once in silence, when Persians walked her streets unopposed, and again in story when her pride is remembered as warning, when her glory becomes shadow, when her name is spoken not as wonder, but as fall. Yet in this second fall is endurance, for though her stones crumble, her story lingers, her echoes spread, her memory refuses to fade. You close your eyes and listen. The voices overlap, the calm tone of Persian scribes, the joyous songs of exiles, the thoughtful musings of Greeks. Each one carries Babylon in different shape, each one claims her fall as proof of their truth. Yet beneath it all is the same heartbeat. Babylon was great, and Babylon is no more. And so her name travels farther than her empire ever did. Carried not by armies but by words, by memory, by echo. The echoes travel far, carried across deserts, seas and centuries. They change shape in every telling. Persian triumph, Hebrew prophecy, Greek marvel. Yet, while the world speaks her name, Babylon herself begins to fade. The lions on her gates, whether under sun and wind, the blue bricks lose their shine, the canals clog with silt, the gardens dry. The city that once believed itself eternal learns the slow truth. Stone too crumbles, water too shifts, memory too dims. You walk the processional way long after the Persians have claimed it. The lions are still there, but their edges soften, their once bright glaze dulled. Grass pushes between stones, cracks creep along walls. The crowds are gone, No drums pound, no flutes sing, only wind moves through the street, carrying dust instead of song. The ziggurat still rises, but not as it once did. Bricks loosen, walls collapse, stairs crumble, where once priests climbed daily with offerings. Now owls nest, their cries echoing in chambers meant for gods. The summit is broken, the altar empty, the sky unvisited. What was ladder to heaven is now ruin, a stairway to silence. The gardens, if they ever were as legend claims, no longer bloom. The pumps falter, the water dries, the terraces crack, the vines wither, the flowers fade, the soil crumbles to dust. Travelers speak of them still, but those who walk the city see only broken stone, shadow of paradise. What was wonder is now memory, lingering more in story than in earth. In the temples, priests chant still, but fewer, offerings dwindle, hymns weaken, statues gather dust. The gods themselves seem to fade. Marduk's eyes of lapis glimmer less in dim light. His priests look weary, their power diminished. Once they claimed his favor eternal. Now they bow to foreign kings, their chants quiet, their temples hollow. The divine silence is heavy. The Euphrates flows steady, as it always has, but its course shifts, leaving canals dry, fields barren, farmers abandon land, merchants abandon markets, families abandon homes. The river that built Babylon slowly leaves it behind, carrying silt farther downstream, feeding other lands, other cities. What was lifeline becomes boundary, what was foundation becomes forgetfulness. You stand upon the walls, and you see fields empty, villages gone, dust blowing across plains. Once armies marched, once caravans flowed, once cities glittered in the distance. Now, silence stretches far, broken only by wind and bird call. Babylon remains, but smaller, quieter, weaker. Its towers still rise, but fewer. Its palaces still stand, but emptier. Its gates still guard, but against nothing. Travelers come, still, drawn by memory. Greeks walk its streets, measuring its walls, marveling at its breadth. They write of it, embellishing, preserving its wonder in words even as its stones collapse. They tell of gardens hanging high, of walls broad as roads, of ziggurats reaching heaven. They make Babylon immortal, though not as it truly is, but as they imagine it, as they remember it. Centuries pass. Empires shift. Alexander the Great stands in Babylon, marveling at its ruins. He dreams of making it his capital, of restoring its glory, of ruling the world from its heart, but even he cannot. He dies in its halls, his body failing where once gods reigned. His death becomes another echo, another story woven into Babylon's fading fabric. The city outlasts even conquerors, but not as glory, only a stage where others meet their ends. Later still, Rome hears of Babylon. Its poets speak her name as symbol of arrogance, of sin, of fall. Its prophets use her image as warning, as metaphor for decadence doomed. Babylon becomes not place but idea, eternal in lesson though gone in stone. By the time pilgrims and monks write of her, she is ruin already, her name spoken more often than her streets are walked. You walk her ruins in the quiet. Dust drifts where laughter once rang. Walls stand jagged, their bricks stolen for villages nearby. The ziggurat is hill of rubble, its form broken, its meaning lost. Shepherds lead flocks across her streets, their hooves striking where kings once strode. Children play among fallen gates, unaware of the dragons that once gleamed there. The city is not dead, but it is ghost. And yet, even in ruin, she lives. Every stone holds echo, every fragment whispers. You touch a brick, stamped with Nebuchadnezzar's name, and you feel his ambition still, his dream of eternity carved into clay. You stand at the river, and you hear captives still singing, their voices carried by current. You walk through crumbled streets, and you hear faint laughter of markets, faint music of lyres, faint chants of priests. The city is gone, yet it lingers, like smoke after fire, like scent after bloom. Babylon dissolves into dust, but not into silence. She becomes memory, symbol, lesson. To Persians, she was triumph. To Hebrews, she was warning. To Greeks, she was marvel. To later ages, she is caution against pride, against arrogance, against the illusion of eternity. Her fall is retold not as end, but as reminder, that nothing built by men is forever. You sit at dusk among her ruins. The sun sets, painting sky red and gold. The Euphrates glimmers faint, the air cools, the earth quiets. Birds call, dogs bark in distant villages. The wind sighs through broken stone. Babylon rests now, not as queen of empires, but as dream of past. She no longer rules the world. She no longer towers unchallenged, but she endures in memory, and perhaps that is its own eternity. You breathe slowly, and you think of all you have seen. Hammurabi, carving laws in stone. Nebuchadnezzar raising gates and gardens. Priests chanting before Marduk's statue. Exiles weeping by the river. Cyrus's soldiers stepping through the riverbed in silence. The city falling without cry. Each moment a fragment, each fragment an echo. Together they form Babylon, not as she was but as she is remembered. The night falls, stars spreading wide. The ruins darken, their shapes fading into shadow. You lie back upon warm earth, listening to silence, watching the sky, and you feel it. Babylon is gone, but not forgotten. Her story lingers, woven into human memory, carried in word, in song, in warning. Her dust lies beneath you, but her name drifts above, eternal as stars. And so Babylon falls, and so Babylon remains. The story of Babylon settles now, like dust upon the plain. The drums have fallen silent. The gardens have withered. The ziggurat has crumbled into earth. Yet the name lingers, faint but steady, whispered across centuries. You breathe slowly. The air is softer here, quiet, after all the echoes. You imagine yourself lying in those ruins at night. The stars wide and countless above, the river flowing gently nearby. The stones beneath you are warm from the day, cool in the evening breeze. Around you is silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence of rest. The markets no longer call. The priests no longer chant. The soldiers no longer march. Only the wind moves, sighing gently between broken walls. You close your eyes, and the city dissolves further, its gates fading into starlight, its towers into shadow, its noise into calm. Babylon is not gone. Not truly. It is only softer now, quieter, a memory carried on the air. You allow yourself to drift with it. You do not need to hold the whole story. You do not need to remember every king, every wall, every fall. The past is patient. It will wait for you, always. For now, you may let go. Your breath falls into rhythm, steady as the Euphrates. Your thoughts slow, like dust settling after wind. Sleep edges closer, gentle and warm, as if the city itself has laid down beside you to rest. Babylon has fallen, and you may fall into rest with it. Quiet, calm, unhurried. Good night. Sweet dreams.